History in hockey is unforgiving, dynasties are rare, and the sport is built to prevent them. Salary caps, free agency, injuries, rivalries, every season is a minefield designed to humble even the most talented teams. Yet here we are, staring at the Florida Panthers, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, with one question looming. Can they do it again? Can they claim a third straight title and carve their names beside the legends of the game? At first glance, it feels possible. They've proven themselves against the best. They've outlasted Connor McDavid's Oilers, outpunched the Hurricanes, and survived playoff wars. But then, the landscape around them has shifted. Rivals have gotten stronger, their own roster faces brutal tests, and the grind of chasing a three-peat has broken nearly every team that dared try. Therefore, before we crown them early, we need to peel back every layer. The history, the odds, the injuries, the rivals, and the gritty style that defines them. So, can the Florida Panthers really three-peat? Let's find out. Winning 2 cups is already the stuff of legend. Fans never forget it, and banners hang forever. But 3 in a row, that's a whole other level. That's not just winning, it's carving out a dynasty. A word thrown around too casually in sports, but reserved for the rarest of teams. The last NHL franchise to actually pull it off was the New York Islanders in the early 1980s, led by Mike Bossy, Brian Trottier, and Billy Smith. They didn't just win, they crushed the league, stacking 4 straight cups from 1980 to 1983. And defining an era of dominance. Since then, many have tried, but none have succeeded. Mario Lemieux's Penguins, back-to-back in the early 90s, but fell short of a third. The Red Wings of Yzerman and Shanahan, a dynasty in spirit, but never 3 in a row. Crosby and Malkin's Penguins, they got 2, but the grind of chasing a third broke them. Even the Lightning, who many thought could run the table, had their streak snapped after 2 cups. It's not for lack of talent, it's because the NHL is built to prevent this. But then you look at the Panthers, they've already done what most experts said was impossible in the Cap era. Gone back-to-back in a league designed for parity. They've beaten the best players in the world, neutralized elite offenses, and survived the psychological and physical toll of 4-round playoff runs. They've shown they're not a Cinderella team, they're a machine. And now one more title would etch them alongside the greatest dynasties in sports history. Therefore, the opportunity is right there, staring them in the face. But so is the pressure. Vegas sportsbooks may list them near the top, but not as runaway favorites. Edmonton sits close, Colorado is lurking, and the East is a minefield of hungry challengers. If Florida slips even slightly, the dream evaporates. A dynasty isn't just about talent, it's about withstanding the weight of expectation, fatigue, and rivals who've spent an entire summer plotting your downfall. And that might be the Panthers' biggest battle yet. One of the biggest reasons Florida has even a chance at 3 straight cups is their roster stability. In an era where champions often lose key pieces to free agency, the Panthers managed to keep their core intact. Aaron Ekblad remains the cornerstone of their defense, a steady presence who logs huge minutes. Sam Bennett continues to provide scoring punch and versatility. Brad Marchand, hated everywhere but South Florida, has given them that veteran nastiness and playoff savvy. Together with stars like Barkov and Reinhart, the Panthers didn't just keep a strong team together, they kept a proven winner together. That stability matters. Chemistry doesn't happen overnight, and the Panthers now have years of scars, memories, and trust built up. They know how to rally when they're down, how to manage momentum swings, how to thrive in overtime playoff games. That knowledge is priceless, and no summer signing spree can replicate it. But then, look around the league. While Florida held steady, their rivals were busy reloading. The Hurricanes added Nikolai Ehlers, giving them more speed and creativity. The Maple Leafs reshaped their roster around Mitch Marner, one of the best playmakers in the world. The Avalanche brought in reinforcements to bolster depth and secondary scoring. Even younger teams like the Devils and Rangers, already dangerous, kept moving closer to contention. Therefore, what looks like an advantage, continuity, could also become a vulnerability. The Panthers may trust their formula, but if rivals upgraded their speed, skill, or depth, Florida risks being outpaced. Standing still in the NHL is dangerous when everyone else is sprinting forward. If the Panthers can adapt their stability into something more, if they can weaponize that trust and chemistry into another evolution of their game, they'll keep the edge. But if they don't, this might be the year the pack catches them. Matthew Tkachuk isn't just another star in Florida's lineup. He's the soul of the Panthers' identity. The swagger, the snarl, the impossible mix of skill and grit. He embodies the very DNA of this team. Watch him for one shift and you'll see why. He goes from dangling a defenseman to riling up an entire bench with one chirp. He doesn't just play hockey, he makes it a psychological war. But then came the summer bombshell, surgery. The timeline, up to 4 months on the shelf. That's almost half the season without their heartbeat, their chaos engine, their emotional center. And this isn't just about losing his 80 points. Without Tkachuk, the Panthers risk losing their edge. The relentless bruising energy that often sparks their offense and rattles their opponents. When he's not on the ice, the dynamic shifts. Florida looks more normal. This isn't a small concern. Over the last 2 years, Tkachuk has been the guy when momentum tilted the wrong way. Down a goal? He created something. Tied late. He threw the hit that turned the tide. He was the one willing to get under a superstar's skin and flip an entire series in Florida's favor. Without him, who takes that role? Barkov leads quietly. Reinhart scores consistently. Marchand can bring nastiness, but he doesn't have Tkachuk's blend of offense and chaos. Therefore, the question isn't just when will he return, it's what condition will Florida be in by the time he does. If they stumble through the early months, battling inconsistency without their emotional driver, they might enter the playoff hunt bruised and fatigued, playing catch-up in the standings. And if Tkachuk comes back less than 100%, the ripple effect is massive. A three-peat dream doesn't just require his presence, it requires his full power. Without that, the road becomes infinitely harder. Even if Tkachuk returns at full strength, the Panthers face another relentless enemy, the calendar. The 2025-26 NHL season isn't just a grind, it's a gauntlet. With the Winter Olympics in February, the league compressed the schedule, forcing teams into tighter turnarounds, more back-to-backs, and less recovery time. For a team aiming to three-peat, that's a nightmare. But then, Florida's situation is even tougher than most. Their roster isn't built on placeholders, it's packed with international stars. Barkov for Finland, Bobrovsky for Russia, Marchand for Canada, Ekblad, Reinhart, Knight. The list goes on. These aren't guys who'll take the Olympic break to rest. They'll be flying across the world, suiting up in high-stakes international hockey, grinding through intense minutes against the best of the best. And here's the kicker. The Panthers already play a taxing style. Their dirtbag hockey is built on contact, on grinding shifts, on wearing opponents down. It's punishing hockey. Over a normal season, that adds mileage to players' bodies. But this year, the risk of fatigue skyrockets. Imagine playing 40 games in a packed schedule, flying to Europe for Olympic battles, then coming home to grind through another 35 games before the playoffs. That's not just difficult, that's brutal. Therefore, by the time April rolls around, Florida could be staring down a fatigue problem no one else has solved. Depth helps, yes, but no team can fully shield its stars from the grind. One mistimed injury, one stretch of sloppiness, one exhausted playoff run could derail everything. In a league where dynasties are nearly impossible, the schedule itself might be the Panthers' toughest opponent. Every dynasty has a calling card. For the Islanders, it was suffocating dominance. For the Oilers, it was overwhelming firepower. For the Blackhawks, it was their transition game. For the Panthers, it's grit. They play what rivals grudgingly call dirtbag hockey. Relentless, physical, sometimes infuriating. They lean on punishing forechecks, crushing body blows, and a penalty kill that seems fueled as much by spite as by structure. Opponents know that a playoff series against Florida isn't just about goals. It's about survival. That style works. It's what broke McDavid's Oilers in the final. It's what rattled Carolina's top line into silence. Florida doesn't just beat you on the scoreboard, they beat you in the mind. Players have admitted that by game 5 or 6, they were simply exhausted, mentally and physically drained from the non-stop waves of aggression. The Panthers' ability to drag elite talent down into the mud and still thrive is their greatest weapon. But then, the element of surprise is gone. The first cup, opponents didn't fully see it coming. The second cup, teams thought they could adjust, but Florida doubled down. Now, every rival in the East has circled them in red. Coaches have spent off seasons dissecting their film. General managers have signed players specifically to counter that grinding, suffocating style. Teams like Carolina and New Jersey have bulked up their bottom 6 for one reason: to survive Florida's brand of hockey. Therefore, Therefore, the Panthers can't expect the same tactics to carry them through unchallenged. They'll need to evolve their grit. Maybe that means diversifying their special teams, or finding ways to generate more offense off the cycle instead of pure chaos. Maybe it's trusting younger, faster skaters to keep pace when rivals adapt. Florida's identity won't change. It's too ingrained, but the wrinkle, the upgrade, the next layer of grit, that could be the difference between repeating the past and being left behind. And yet, here's the thing, the Panthers are still loaded. Sam Reinhart, he's coming off a career season where he not only scored at will, but also stepped up in the biggest games. Alexander Barkov remains one of the league's most complete centers, able to shut down opponents' top lines while still delivering offense when it matters most. On the blue line, Aaron Ekblad and Brandon Montour provide a mix of size, poise, and offensive punch that anchors their transition game. And in net, Sergei Bobrovsky, once dismissed as inconsistent, has rediscovered his form on the biggest stage, backed by Spencer Knight, a young goaltender with star potential. Florida's depth is more than names on paper. Their bottom six can swing games. Sam Bennett brings snarl and scoring touch. Eetu Luostarinen has turned into one of the league's more underrated two-way forwards. And players like Marchand add that dose of experience and nastiness that makes the room harder, meaner, and more confident. But then, depth alone doesn't guarantee a three-peat. Other contenders are just as deep. Colorado rolls out line after line of speed and skill. Edmonton has star power that can overwhelm in bursts. Carolina plays a system so airtight that even elite depth struggles to break through. Florida can't simply rely on balance. They'll need their depth players to overperform. It's not enough for the fourth line to hold the line. In the playoffs, they'll need to tilt games, chip in timely goals, and deliver the momentum swings that often define 7-game wars. Therefore, experience becomes the equalizer. No team in the league knows the weight of playoff wars like Florida. Twice now, they've fought through 4 rounds of punishment and lifted the cup. They understand the toll. They understand how quickly momentum can shift. They understand that one shift, one save, one bounce can decide everything. That knowledge, the scars, the memories, the battles can't be taught. It has to be lived. And for the Panthers, it might be the one advantage no rival can match. So can the Panthers really three-peat? On one side, the case is strong. They have the core, the depth, the experience, and the winning formula. On the other, the obstacles are undeniable. Tkachuk's injury, the schedule crunch, rivals who've loaded up, and the weight of history itself. But here's the truth. If any team can pull this off in the modern era, it's the Panthers. They've already done what most said was impossible. Back-to-back championships in a league built for parity. The third will be harder, maybe their hardest challenge yet. But then, that's what makes it worth watching. Therefore, my answer is yes, they can. Not because it'll be easy, but because this team has already proven they're tougher than anyone expected. The road will be brutal, and the dynasty is far from guaranteed. But if Florida survives the storm one more time, we won't just talk about them as champions, we'll talk about them as legends. So what do you think? Can the Panthers make history and become the first dynasty of the salary cap era? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button if you're backing the Cats, and subscribe for more hockey breakdowns every week.